We get to actually see the prototypes? Oh. Oh! That threat pose. Accepted. I think this is gonna teach me as much as cells at work. Hello fellow anime geeks and welcome to another impressions video covering this 2021 winter anime season. Per usual, I'm organizing my thoughts by answering these 4 questions, and today I'm delighted to talk about Tenchi Zozo Designbu, or Tendebu for short, or Heaven's Design Team on Crunchy. The mal tags are slice of life, comedy, fantasy, and seinen. And I'm going to say that it's an absurd comedy, but surprisingly, despite it having this very original and funny premise, it actually does remind me of a few things. In presenting this idea that heaven works like a company and God is the jaded CEO, this reminds me of the show Miracle Workers. And in the same vein, but in the very opposite direction, this reminds me of the slice of life kind of flavor of Hozuki. Apparently there's just a lot of paperwork and office crud that has to get done in heaven and hell. In presenting itself as this comedy with an outrageous premise, but then actually turning around and teaching me something, this reminds me of Hataraku Saibou. Heck, both of these anime are so educational, they remind me of my childhood. Cue the magic school bus. In terms of premise, the show hilariously and intelligently tells us what it's going to be about in the first few seconds of its opening sequence. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then it got too tedious so he outsourced it. We're following the inner workings of the outsourcing company that is in charge of designing and testing all of Earth's creatures. Each designer has their own personality and affinity for certain animal types, and so that all of this sort of makes sense, we share the point of view of a trainee angel who shares the same fear and disgust and wonder that we as the audience would feel if we were privy to this crazy design process. God sends over this vague idea like, I want an animal with good hearing, so the team creates the design to fulfill that request. Then the engineering department creates a demo that then tests to see if it's going to survive Earth's conditions, sometimes using the testing area, the Galapagos Islands, and then God either accepts or rejects the design using his proxies, the angels. And we get so much cool evolutionary information through this design process. I mean, each test breaks down how Earth's physics would act on each of these different biological systems, the necessity and importance of certain organs, and the predator-prey relationship as it applies to that specific organism. So not only do we get all of this really cool information on the different species inhabiting our planet, we also get to take some cool and hilarious mental excursions into why certain mythical creatures like the unicorn would not work. Oh, look at all the beautiful unicorns. Why do they all have dumb looks on their faces? Tendebu is unique in a lot of ways. I mean, there's an element of fun in this. It's like an adult Dora the Explorer. I found myself trying to guess the end result animal that would fit the initial request. It's a koala. And sometimes I thought that we were far away from an end result, only for the comedic timing to be like, nope, God accepts. And then I realized that this crazy, weird species actually exists on Earth. Really? Whales can do that? Do koalas really sound like that? The hippo, really? But my favorite aspect is the smart comedy that references a ton of things from company management to Greek mythology. I had to look up what an OEM company was, and the testing site is the Darwin famous Galapagos Islands. There's also a lot of pop culture nods to something like Harry Potter with Thestrals, and at one point a music-loving Cerberus. I mean, there's even a nod to Sharknado. The character names are interesting allusions in and of themselves. I mean, I was wondering why I was hearing a very Japanese name like Kanamori, but then the subtitles read Venus, and after prowling the internet, I ended up doing a circle back around to the Crunchyroll comments where people were discussing how the first kanji character of the names of these characters actually share the same first kanji character as a planet name. After doing my own comparison, I found this to be true. Is this an astronomical reference to the first line of the show? In the beginning, God created the heavens, because these designers aren't angels. Also, this adds a mythological aspect to their personality that already matches the meaning of the kanji in their name, which in turn already matches their animal affinities. Oh yeah, and the opening and the ending are good too. I obviously find this anime worthwhile. I loved it from hilarious opening narration to ending acceptance notice. But it's not actually doing so good on Mal. It kind of reminds me of how Hataage Kemono Michi was labeled as this bad, unoriginal isekai, even though I thought that it was actually a slice of life, surreal comedy isekai parody. So I think Tendebu is worthwhile if you like absurd comedy and if you want to learn a bunch of random animal facts. Nothing less, nothing more. And on that note, I'll catch you in the next video. It's Laboon! It's totally Laboon! Oh. Oh. Yeah, I'm fine. I don't need to see that.